What's up, Robin?
Hey, Dr. John, how's it going?
Good. And you? How are you?
Oh, I'm great. I really appreciate you taking this phone call.
Absolutely.
Like everyone else, definitely didn't think I'd get a call back, so here we are.
Very cool. And I love getting right in the middle of couple drama. So this is going to be fun. All right, I'm going to bring on Phil now, your beloved husband, right?
Awesome, yeah.
Hey, Phil, you there?
Oh, yeah, I'm here.
Awesome. Man, I could tell in your voice you'd rather be doing most anything else than being here. So I'm glad that you're here, dude. It's awesome.
I'm glad to be here. I'm a OG listener. So I got my wife listening to your podcast. It's the only one she's ever trusted to listen or followed up on.
Dude, that's rad. Does she occasionally say, well, you know, Phil, John says that you need to be... Does she do that to you?
Oh, you know what? She's turned your name into a cuss word in our house.
Oh, man. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. That's all right, though. I accept it. All right, so Robin, you called. So what is Phil doing or not doing? I'm just assuming that's how this is going to go.
Oh, yeah. Hey, so I'll just get straight to the question. Am I being too hard on my husband, expecting him to attend social events? And I guess the backstory, not necessarily a big backstory, he works Monday through Friday, and I know at the end of the week he's zapped, and most events that we've been attending lately have been on the weekend, and there's been some pushback to attend a lot of these events because he wants his downtime, and I'm like, hey, like, we're a family. They're either birthday parties or bridal showers for couples and families, and I kind of need you to step up and go with me. And on, the other part of me, I'm like, I get that he's tired. He stays at home, or he works remote, and he watches our son at the same time when I'm away on my shifts. So I respect the fact that he also probably needs to get some rest. And I guess I also look at my position. I'm working 24-hour shifts. I'm wiped out, but I also feel it's incredibly important to show up for the people in our lives. And I have that expectation that my husband goes with me to these events. To me, if he doesn't show up, which I've allowed in the past, it's embarrassing.
Which you've allowed. Fantastic. This is awesome.
I've allowed it.
This is so great. Awesome. Phil, you're grounded. You're grounded. No dessert, Phil.
Yeah, I mean,
oh man,
all authority, but I want my spouse to be there.
Okay, I want you to say that. That's what I care about. So, what kind of shift work do you do, Robin?
I'm a firefighter, so I work 24 on, 48 off.
Okay, and Phil, what do you do, bud?
I just like IT stuff, kind of nerdy stuff.
That's kind of taken over the world. That's cool. Just lo-fi, run everything. Cool. All right, so how long you all been married?
8 years now.
Okay. And you have how many little ones?
We have
one 4-year-old.
Okay. So I'll let Phil speak. Phil, what's your thought on the other side of this?
All right. So my thought is I get maybe 1 to 3 days a month where I have the opportunity, because she doesn't always, it doesn't always line up where she has weekends off. So most weekends she's either working one day. And so that gives me like 1 to 3 days, maybe, where I have the opportunity to have my own soul. I don't have much of a social life, and I voiced her, it's kind of making me drown. And kind of what happens is when we go to these events, like the reason she called was because we got into it, and I'll admit I handled it like a child. But we went to a wedding, and it was like 100 degrees out. And I was just like, during the ceremony, he's like, I'm not even going to be there because, our little one's going to be running around. I'm going to be chasing him around. And then like for the tail, like there wasn't even a seat for the three of us. Like there's only 2 seats for the 3 of us and 2 plates. And so I was just like, the whole time I was like, I told you I should have just stayed home with him, and you should have just gone to the wedding and enjoyed yourself. And now I'm just chasing him around nonstop. And we had another wedding that we went to, and this one was a blast, but kind of half the event was just me chasing our son around. And I even told her, I said, hey, you can't just you can't just keep leaving, or I said like a joke, like, you can't just abandon us and just go off and do your thing while I have to chase him around all day. And so I don't know, it kind of feels like, she does a lot of, she has a lot more opportunity to hang out with friends, and she was doing like book nights or clubs or nerdy stuff like that and trivia nights. And it's just like, I just kind of need, like, some time.
Why don't you guys get a babysitter when you go to some of these things?
We don't have a lot of options.
Okay.
And when we do get, like, usually my mom is pretty much the one that does it. And it's like, and maybe like once a month, and then it's just like, well, let's, do something else besides
Sure.
the wedding, or, so we try and use it for like our date night.
If I didn't know better, I would think that my wife actually is paying you two to call in to have this question. This hits so close to home. It's wild. It's wild. And I can walk through some of the important big rocks, and then I can just tell you how we handle it in my house. Okay.
May I elaborate just a little bit more?
Elaborate away. What I've got so far is that you hate your husband and your kid, and you like to go to just party, and he has to run around and chase them because you're kind of an abandonment mom. But whatever. Go ahead.
Yeah. Well, to be fair, the last wedding we went to, I was in the wedding party, so I did have to help out. But proceed. It turns into more of like the separation of your friends and my friends situation. And when it's quote unquote my friend's events, he kind of sabotages and gets into this really grumpy mood and kind of ruins the time or won't socialize. And it's like, he's great at socializing. He's great at talking to people, but he chooses to just kind of pout and not be present.
And I can almost, I can see that. And like, there's 100%. That's me, by the way. That's me. Or in some instances, that's my wife. Okay. I'm going to go to this thing. You're demanding my presence. I'll be there. But I'm going to make sure everybody around me knows that I'm radioactive and I don't want to be here.
Right.
The other side of that, Phil, I'll put you on the spot because y'all called. And I just ask y'all to be honest and don't be mean to each other when this call is over. Is that cool?
Oh, we won't be.
How often do you go to these things and not like who your wife becomes when she's there?
Not really. I guess when it's like, to go back, when it's like my friends, I feel like I'm kind of being micromanaged to make sure I'm, behaving or being, telling, or just, I guess like, it's almost like my mom's there watching over me.
That's exactly what I'm asking. That's what I'm asking.
Yeah.
You don't like who your wife becomes?
Kind of, but when it's like her side or something, then it's fine. It's great.
It's great, but you don't want to be there.
Yeah, no. I want to be anywhere else.
Why is that?
I don't know. I just want to have a day to myself.
What's underneath that?
I don't have much of a social life, I guess.
Okay. So what I'm hearing is a social offering on the table. What makes that social offering not something you want to be a part of?
Because I want to. Okay, then I get that. I want I want to be with my ride or dies.
Okay. Are your ride or dies? Is there no room for any more ride or dies?
We're getting there. We're meeting a couple. I think we've added some new pretty solid friends, mutual friends over, because we moved, and so now we're kind of it's like an hour and a half, 2 hours away from like our OG friends, and so we're meeting some new people now, and that's cool when we hang out with them. I enjoy hanging out with those people.
But what I want to get to is, are you grieving loss? Because you're at the 8-year mark. And there's a natural settling in like, oh, this is our life. And we have a little kid and we both have jobs and you married a first responder. So there comes with that innate built-in stress. And I'm the son of a policeman. And so most of my time has been running around with policemen, just a little bit with firefighters. And so I get to make a firefighter joke. Is that cool, Robin? It's easy. Like the old police joke is, ooh, we have to work every day, right? So there's that, right? And so there's the illusion that Robin's just sitting at home, like doing yoga all day while you're right and while you're wrangling kids and work. So there's this understanding that this is kind of what our life is. And the challenge, I think, happens is, Robin, you have this picture of what you want this thing to look like. And it is, we're social and we are cool and we are hip. And in fact, I'm going to hit the pendulum because people think I'm this firefighter, tough woman, first responder. But I go to parties and I dance and we have fun. And then your husband is all day wrangling. And he's like, dude, when I'm off, I unplug and I just lock the door. And there's a sense of dropping your shoulders. And it's like, oh, this is our life. And until you acknowledge and grieve that, and what I mean by grief is not a negative grief, nobody died, but where my wife and I had to get was, I love going to stand-up comedy shows. I went to 2 different shows this weekend. I love going to punk rock shows. You should see my lineup. I love hanging out with my wife more than anybody else. She doesn't like those 2 worlds. And so for so long, it made me sad that I thought she was choosing something else other than me. And it wasn't until I realized, oh, no, I'm showing up like a puppy. Like, maybe this time I get a treat, maybe this time I get a treat. And it was never that. It wasn't until we sat down and she said, hey, these environments, I don't like them, they make me uncomfortable, but I love you. You pick one show like a semester, I'm going to go and I'm going to have a good time. You pick one comedy show and I'm going to laugh hard. And then what I've had to do is do the work of calling other friends. And so I buy a couple of tickets every time and I invite rando people. And it's a blast. I've learned to have a good time. Would I always want her there? Yes. And by the way, Robin, I could give 2 boxes of farts what other people think. And now over time, people know like, yeah, Delony's wife doesn't get in mosh pits. Most wives don't get in mosh pits, right? So I don't care. And at the same time, I would rather have the better part of my butt crack set on fire than go to a couple's wedding shower. Right?
Yeah.
So there's that as well. Like Phil being able to say these particular things I don't love. So Robin, you said something at the beginning of this call that I think is really instructive. It was this idea like he needs to step up. I'm looking for the man in my house.
Mm.
And at the same time, you said later on, I really miss my husband.
Yeah.
And so let me ask you this. Is this a respect issue for you? Like, are you losing respect for this guy because he just wants to sit around on the couch and when he's off, he just wants to be off and he wants to watch TV and put his feet up? And the only way we get to the truth here is if you tell the truth.
Yeah. I mean, I guess a little bit. I just, I feel like I would do anything and show up for anything for him. And I guess it boils down to him not necessarily caring about my needs or my wants.
So what are your needs here? Because I hear you showing up for Phil, but you show up and you quickly make it the picture you want it to be.
Sure.
Hey Phil, don't eat that. Hey, that's too many. Are you gonna have another drink? Are you really gonna do that? Why are you wearing that? Like you quickly shift that his time into something that fits your picture. So what's the thing? What are your needs here?
I guess it would boil down to something deeper. Just, him wanting to, like you said, be the man that wants to be a family man. And I know that he's fantastic with our son, but it doesn't seem like he necessarily cares too much about his wife.
There we go.
In the same breath.
And you have to own that you've attached care, a demonstration of caring for his wife, to time. And you have attached time to going to other people's requests of y'all.
I guess I'm utilizing those requests as like date nights,
Right.
even with our child, as social events, because we don't really do that together.
I got that. But it was a hard lesson for me to learn that for the last 20 years, I travel a lot for work and for speaking and all that kind of stuff. And I'd always tell my wife, hey, why don't you just come with me? We can double dip. Someone else is paying for the flights and the hotel. This is amazing. And she finally said, you are at work when you're there. You're different in the hotel. You're different out in public. You're different in the airports. And I didn't realize that. And that's why I asked Phil, like this, do you become somebody different than, like, and she sees me at punk rock shows, I kind of lose my mind. And she doesn't not like that guy. In fact, I think my wife loves that guy more than the guy trying to figure out how the Roomba works. But that's just, I'd rather just go to bed. And so, Phil, you hear this. You hear a wife saying, I miss my husband. How does that resonate?
I don't know. I mean, it kind of hurts,
Is it true?
Kind of sucks. I don't. I mean, I'm not going to say it's not true, but I don't know. I guess in my mind, I don't know. I just thought everything was pretty good.
Yeah. Talk directly in the phone for me.
Sorry.
Oh, you're good. You're good.
And can I give just a couple examples? I know we're probably running low on time.
Yeah, give me one.
Okay. So our cousin, they were just in town visiting for like a week. It was awesome. We had a blast. And we went to, we were going to go, stay at the lake all day, went fishing and, fun stuff. And like half the time we were there, she just went off fishing by herself, and it was totally cool. I was having a blast with my son. We were, canoeing around, just, having fun. And then at like the end of the day, he was throwing a fit because she went to go get the car and he wanted to go with her. I was like, oh, I'll just go get the car. And she like kind of snapped, said, no, I need a moment alone. I was like, but you literally been alone like all day. Like, and so like, she's kind of painting like one picture, like, oh, she feels like a single parent when she shows up alone. But on the end, when we go to these things, when we do things together, it's like, I'm kind of almost a single parent, I guess, is one way I guess I would describe it.
And I would tell you that what y'all are describing, the roles are reversed, but it's exactly the conversation my wife and I had. Which is, John, when I go to these things with you, you disappear. You disappear.
I feel the same too for other events.
Sure.
Like if it's for him, then I'm left, or just like with his birthday party, it's like, where's my husband? I need help. Where's my husband? I need help. So I think it's like a bunch of blaming going back and forth.
That's rather right. Than. So here's the two things I'm going to give you to start off with, okay? Or three things, all right? For whatever it's worth, I think y'all are exactly where you should be. And I think your marriage is strong and it's going to be amazing. Okay? Like, I don't want y'all to feel like y'all are at some weird crossroads or this is the end. This happens all the time. It happened in my house. It happened in my house more recently than I would like to admit. It comes up every 3 or 4 or 5 years. People in the booth, we were all talking about it. Like, it's happened. This happens to every one of us, okay? The challenge number one is I want y'all to begin to, and I say this all the time, but this is a perfect living example of this. Cousins coming into town, we're going to go to the lake. Y'all sit down together for 20 minutes and say, hey, what does your picture of this weekend look like? Because Phil has a picture in his head. We're going to the lake. We're going to be all in the canoe together. We're going to be fishing. And Robin has a picture in her head. I'm going to pick up a rod and reel and I'm going to go catch me some fish. And so
she didn't, though.
Do what?
No.
Oh. she didn't catch anything.
And in the same breath, though, I would rather be in the canoe all together.
Right.
But
I want you to say that up front. Because you don't say it. Phil hops in, doesn't want to bother you because you're fishing. I'm just going to take the kid, let Robin have her time. And often, I don't want to over gender stereotype, but often men try to solve relationship stuff by just doing the next thing, the next task. And often women want time. And not just we're sitting by each other flipping through our phones, but we have some sort of We are in the same space together. And even if, like, I've got to go be a bridesmaid, I need you out in the audience. Which to me sounds like I'm coming to be an ornament. And so if you want me to go to the wedding, like, what's your picture of this wedding look like? Well, I'm going to be doing this. I'm going to be doing this. I'm going to be doing this. I need you just in the audience. I'd rather you tell them that I was staying home with the kids so that you could have a great time. And your friends will understand that. And if you are wanting to use Phil and as some sort of, look, everybody, look how great everything is, I'm going to challenge you, Robin, to not use him in that way. If, on the other hand, I've asked my wife to come to a couple of live events of mine, we barely talk. But there's something that anchors me into granite when I look out in an audience and I see my wife there. I know it's going to be all right. And so those are rare, very, very rare, but I'm specific when I say, hey, here's my picture for this. You don't have to talk to anybody. If you'll just show up, I'll save you a seat on the front row or off to the side. And she'll say, can you save me on the very, very, very back row? And I'll say, yeah, I can do that. But then the other thing is, I've had to make peace. My wife doesn't like punk rock shows. And I love her, and that's the person I married, and I'm okay with that. I've had to do the work of saying, okay, what's the substitute? I'm going to take my buddies. I'm going to make some new friends. And the other side of it is she does say, pick one show a term for me to go to. And both of us were professors forever, so we still live our lives on the semester schedule. And Phil, sometimes it's you saying, if I say yes, I am going to be the funnest, even if you have to pretend. But saying yes, I'm going to go, and then just being like that, my wife calls it the Sunday afternoon dad, like just that bear, like nobody get around me, but then you can say, I went, but you weren't really, like if you go, just go. And if you'll have to get one of those apps and start like interviewing babysitters out in Bend, then I would suggest you do that. Because it feels like your kid right now is a proxy for like a gap in your relationship. It's an excuse because we have to deal with, I miss my husband, and this is what I feel like this looks like, and I just can't go to another wedding. I don't want to go sit in the heat and chase a 4-year-old around. Does that resonate at all?
Mm-hmm.
Robin, what about you?
Yeah. I think, there's deeper.
There is.
There's deeper things with it, but yeah.
So here's the second thing. You have to tell him what those things are. Okay?
Mm-hmm.
Are you ready to do that? Are you able to do that?
Oh, I have told him.
Okay. But I want you to tell him the deeper meaning there.
Okay.
Not just, I don't think you're stepping up because there's a wedding this weekend and you didn't go and you didn't step up. There's a layer beneath that. I think you're lazy and you're just laying around the house. If that's what you believe in your soul, you need to say it out loud so y'all can deal with that. Because that's a respect issue. Mm-hmm. I think you'd rather sit at home than be with your wife. I looked as beautiful as I possibly could trying to woo you, and you didn't take your eyes off of the video game or whatever the thing is. You have to say those things out loud so y'all can deal with that thing. Because that's the cancer underneath the, why don't you go to the wedding? Why don't you go to do this thing or whatever? Understand this whole thing is a negotiation when it comes to the events, right? And every single couple negotiates those things differently. When I was in higher ed, I had all these banquets and stuff, and I got my wife said, dude, you get one a year. I just can't go and watch you hobnob. It just makes my skin crawl. Cool, that's great. And when it comes to like family reunion-y kind of things where you sit there for 3 days in these hot warehouses and Sheila's like, hey, we'll go every other year. It means something to me for you to go with me. Done. Awesome. But it can only be a negotiation on the events if underneath all of that, I know that we're anchored in together. If she thinks, man, you're just being a bum, you're not showing up, I don't feel loved by you, she's going to say that. And if I think, hey, you are just beating me down every time we go, you criticize everything we do. If we're going to go hang out, I need to just go have fun. I need you to let me have fun. Okay, cool. But we got to talk about those deeper issues. And Phil and Robin, it sounds like you need to sit down and look each other in the eye and have some of that deeper conversation, because it sounds like Phil's kind of caught off guard here. And Robin, it sounds like there's a lot welling up. And if things get real heavy, then call somebody, okay? But I appreciate your call. Your call will help a whole bunch of people because everybody's trying to negotiate. Why doesn't my husband love me? Because he won't do this. And he's like, man, I'm trying to love my wife best I can because I'm doing that. You got to sit down and align. What does your picture of this thing look like? What do I need right here? And how can I best love you right now, today? And if I do, man, I'm going all in. If I say yes, I'm all in. Otherwise, I'm going to say no. Thanks for the call, gang.